Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Superboy issue 9. Superboy's Man of Steel. Superboy's got his own little baby bird in the form of a robot that won't stop following him around and trying to help. This has a concept I actually really enjoy. The idea that this robot that doesn't fully understand what's going on and is trying to help Superboy with his heroics is actually causing more mayhem and more work for Superboy to deal with. It's making things difficult for Superboy. Now, that is a conflict. As I said, stories are conflict. Give him conflict. Make things harder for him. Add upon it. Don't just have him flying through everything like it's nothing. Superboy or Superman is not boring. Just sometimes how they decided to depict his action wasn't particularly very interesting. And I like this story up until we get towards the climax. You see, the problem is Superboy and Superman stories don't seem to be able to function without a criminal element or some sort of antagonist showing up that's preferably actively antagonizing Superboy. Now, the story was fine as it is that Superboy's trying to find out a solution for this robot that's following him. Some criminals have been trying to steal this robot from a scientist. This robot kind of looks like if Homer and Bender were cross-pollinated into a robot, which honestly Bender is already pretty Homerish in design, but legitimately it looks more like Homer turning into Bender. And it listens to whoever it hears first. After the attack, the scientist has to go away for a bit, so Superboy has to look after this robot, and it keeps helping him, but when it helps, it doesn't fully understand the situation. So for a good example of what's happening with this robot is at one time it catches a boulder that's going to crush some people on a road and then decides to deal with the boulder by throwing it off a cliff right into some homes. He didn't think that far ahead. He understood what Superboy was trying to accomplish in that moment, and then nothing else really mattered, and he hadn't really figured out his environment. This is all strong conflict. And I think if you're sort of trying to find the solution of the robot problem, the story would have been much better for it. It didn't need the criminals. This was a good enough conflict. The criminals were the least interesting part of the story. They just kind of get us to Superboy having the baby bird robot copying what he's doing problem. But then they have to rear their ugly head building 3 more robots, and then the solution's fairly easy. Superboy rushes to do something about it and manages to use his super ventriloquism to throw his voice. Jesus, I know I say this every time, but you wouldn't expect the super ventriloquism to be as useful as it ends up being. My God, is it the solution to so many Superboy and Superman comics? Somehow, maybe the most useful power. Out of super strength and flying. And invulnerability. But they hear his voice first and they just easily defeat it. See, that's not a great conflict for the end of him dealing with robot that doesn't understand things. I don't know what the solution is, but it should be interacting to get the robot to some place that would be helpful or removing him from the thing. And that's sort of what happens after the climax, but it's just like that in Superboy's mind. He sends them all to the moon. So remember, according to Golden Age continuity, not only they're weird shape-shifting creatures on the moon, we never see their true form. They just shape-shift into Superboy in that one story. But there's also 4 robots just up there. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're hanging out with the shapeshifters. So now there's actually a lot of copies of those robots on the moon. But there should be robots on the moon when Superman eventually goes back there and writes, "Do good unto others and every man can be a Superman." But if we eliminated the criminals and really just focused on the first 2/3 of the story, I think we would have had something that would have been pretty good. Instead, we get something that's okay. Okay, that is it from Superboy issue 9. Superboy's Man of Steel. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where we cover a Batman story in either Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let us ponder the question, whatever did happen to the boy of tomorrow? And seriously, what are these robots doing on the moon? This feels like a massive threat that should come back in some way. Okay, have a great day.